What's up, guys? Welcome to Creating 2019. This summit is a conversation that I really wanted us to dive in the new year with. What does it take to create an epic year? What does it take to live our most aligned version of truth, to live our dreams? What's up, Niamh? We are going to be jamming with the one and only Niamh Cronin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But we're going to be jamming on something very unique that she's created and how she's changing the world through it. And it's such a beautiful segue from we just covered the power of taking radical responsibility, and we touched on radical forgiveness, radical gratitude with the beautiful Anne Marie, who is also from Ireland. Both of these queens are from Ireland, and I really love how they wear their mission on their hearts, how they are really devoted to their craft. This thing of being a leader of leaders, of being a stand for people to get their truth is not easy, especially the business aspect of it. So when I see people that are truly in the trenches, that are living this work, that are taking themselves on, that are investing, this for me speaks volume to who they are and the work they're bringing into the world. So without further ado, let me bring on Niamh. I'm super excited. Let me see if I can do this without the headphones. Let me know, guys, if you hear any echo. I am trying charging, but I'm so excited. I've actually been to one of Niamh's storytelling transmissions, and it is so powerful. She really blends in a lot of ancient wisdom with practices and real life storytelling to have people embody their truth. Let's see. I'm adding you. Let's see if it connects. All went through, so that may be a little glitch. Let me just restart it over. All right. Isn't this awesome that we can bring in people from all over the world and have epic conversations like these? These are my favorite types of conversations, by the way. So I'm so grateful to start the year. We are going to be talking to over 22 experts that are living and breathing this work, that are out there creating magic with their mission. Let's see if that works. It says adding. What's up, Izzy, Cecilia, Gilarina, Jessica, Jackie, Allison, Fernando, Chantel, Belki, Cynthia, Ashley, Becca, Niamh. Okay. Let's see. Maybe that'll work. It sent me an invitation. Let's see if that works. Sorry, it was freezing. No answer from the live video guest. All right, let's try again. No worries. We are going to make this work. There we go.
Yay! There we go. We know it's going to be a good one.
Right?
Yeah. If there's some energy of, yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Beautiful. Let's set the intention that Spirit speaks through us, as us, and really allows the message to land in the hearts of those that it's meant to. I'm so honored to have you on board. And I'm so excited to jam with you because we've jammed together, but on other people's stuff. So this is our first time jamming with each other. But there's always been, I have to confess this to you, Niamh, there's always been this resonance with you that I know our messages are very similar, but we have different styles doing it. And I just feel very connected to you. So I'm so excited that you said yes.
Oh, thank you. I was so honored that when you reached out to invite me to be a part of this, and I can honestly reflect back to you that the moment we met, I knew you just know in your heart that, you know, we all have our own unique flavors, we have our own unique essence in the way in which we express ourselves, but there's like this underlying current that we can tap into and we can feel. There's like, yeah, it's a realness, a rawness. And when you reached out, I was like, yes, we can finally get to play and explore what this connection is and why we feel so resonant with one another.
Yes. So I did a horrible job of introducing you. I talked a little bit about Attune Me and storytelling magic that you do. What's up, Jill? I knew that was you, but I was like, Jill Arena, what's up, DU? Sion Theo, I wanted you to introduce yourself, Niamh. Who are you? What is it that you do? Where are you from? And then we'll dive right into your creation, which is like the topic of this title, Attune Me.
Thank you so much. And I think it's often very hard to, when it comes to sharing ourselves, because you know, it's like what to say and how to share it, and we have all so much to share about ourselves. But I just want to keep it really simple, because I know that this container is not just about you and me, it's about, you know, everyone else that's joining and what's being created in this entire week that you've put together. But obviously you can probably tell from my accent, I've got an Irish accent. So I grew up in Ireland and in a very small village, and I always questioned life. I always felt like there was more, and I grew up in a Catholic family, and I always questioned, you know, that there was more to what I could feel and experience. I just didn't have a way in which I could explore that. But I spent most of you know, the last 7 or 8 years traveling the world and spending most of my time in Australia, where I went through what some refer to as a spiritual awakening. But I feel it was more just coming into my own awareness of what it means to be human. And what I find is when I went through that process, I was working in the corporate world, I was managing a software company. So you can imagine very left, you know, logical, you know, work, drive. And yeah, in a short space of time, I was managing the company at the age of 27. And actually 26, I was 26. So I was like, you know, in my prime, living the life, you know, money, success, all of those things. And I had a crash and burn, and I ended up in a cardiac ward. And that was my, okay, what's going on here? My wake-up call. And I went through, over the next couple of months, I went through this awakening, you know, questioning, okay, am I really on the right path? This is how I'm meant to be living, you know? And I could feel like there was this voice or this whisper in me that was saying, hey, like, Niamh, like, you know, listen. And that catapulted me onto this personal development journey. And just like many others, you know, signing up to every personal development seminar, workshop, transformational event. And then I decided to study this stuff myself while in the corporate world, because I felt that I really wanted to dive deeper into, first and foremost, heal, you know, what was happening for me. And quite quickly, after doing a lot of these trainings, I felt the call to quit and leave the corporate world and to move into this full time. And so while I began my journey in transformational coaching through NLP and timeline therapy and many things like that, I quite quickly realized that there was far more that was emerging in my work with people one-on-one. And I started to open up to witness what was being felt and experience that was beyond the physical. Now, at that point, my only reference point for energetic work, or while you explored in NLP and many of these tools, was to tap into the New Age spiritual community. And I still didn't feel like a full resonance with everything that I was reading. And so I felt like my journey was quite lonely. And that led me to then decide to travel and to connect in with some of the indigenous tribes. So connecting in with the indigenous tribes in Australia, traveling to South America, and working with tribes in Peru and Brazil, and even in Mexico, spending some time there. And of course, most recently, connecting back to my own roots, my own Indigenous roots here in Ireland. But what and you know, there's just so many layers to this. And every time we share some different aspects of our journey, right? For depending on who's listening. But, you know, during those times as well, while I was doing all this work, I wasn't exactly sharing it and speaking it because I was living into it. I was discovering it, embodying it, allowing myself to explore my human nature. And but at the same time, you know, with my ex-partner at the time, running different leadership events in Australia and women's circles and creating containers. I'm good at that. I'm creating these containers. But about a year ago now, I had another moment of being called into deeper embodiment of my work. And that happened with what seems like everything in my life falling away. And when from the moment I made a choice and decision to be at greater service and to start speaking to and sharing this deeper work, this deeper awareness, this deeper level of knowing of who we are as human beings, that meant that anything that was out of alignment with that or out of resonance fell away. And that meant letting go of my long-term relationship, my home, my businesses in Australia, projects I'd been working on. And over the last year, literally creating this container to allow for attune me and this expression of work is all I can say to emerge. And it's just recently that I've allowed it to be shared at a greater level with people who are in resonance with it. So that's, I guess, in a long roundabout way, my story to date. Yeah.
I love that the whole messaging of attune to your true nature. I heard this quote that really stopped me dead in my tracks. It was like, we can only be authentic to the degree that we know ourselves. And I mean, really know ourselves. When you develop that acute awareness of who you are as a vessel, who you are as a spirit, who you are as a human being, is when you'll be able to understand who you really are. And then choose from that, because a lot of us are expressing a limited facet of our authenticity because we don't know who we really are, because we haven't done the inner work to understand our true nature. And that's really what I love about your work, that it is really about peeling off those layers that you've created and accumulated, thinking and subscribed to and associated with. At times we become products of our environment because we have not been willing to do the heavy lifting in getting to know who we are, in really accessing the wounds, the stories, the beliefs, the structure that we've subscribed to as our own, when in reality, we were just thrown into that shit.
Totally. I love that. And you know, it's interesting. It's like I feel we're at this point right now for many people in their journey where we're being called to put the mirror up and really look and start asking the questions like, who am I really? If I was to strip back all the, you know, societal, I like to call it like shed the societal skins, right? And to the layers of conditioning. And obviously this container that we're creating right now is about creating, right, or 2019 and beyond. It's like looking at, where am I creating from? Am I creating from my truest expression? If I don't really know myself and who I am, then am I only perpetuating and creating cycles of experience that will allow me to only experience a fractal or an aspect of my nature? And the thing is,
Yes.
is that there's, yeah, like it's like there's this personal, on a personal level, but then there's this transpersonal work. And for most of us, we've been doing this personal work, right? We've been going into the wounds, we've been starting to explore these aspects of our own nature. But there's also, it's like the marriage is happening now. We're being asked to also dive deeper into our collective unconscious and to begin entering into question the cycles of experiences that we've been playing out on the planet, the cycles of things that we've been creating over and over and over again. And most of these things have been created from these deeply seated fears, these deeply seated conditions of scarcity, of fear, of not being enough. And so for the most part, when we set our intentions for the year ahead, and I'm guilty of this myself in the past, and I'm just starting to become more aware, is we think we're creating to, like, you know, we might be creating from a place of wanting more success, wanting more joy and love, but asking the question, where am I creating this from? Is this vision of success really me? Is this vision of money and having the white picket fence and the house and the car and all of these things, is that our true human nature, or is that a story that's been perpetuated through our society, that has become this program that that's installed in our body, in our being, in our awareness? Yet, you know, there's this story, storyteller Martin Shaw, and he says that there is this concept that derives from the indigenous Australian tribes, who really, in a way, are one of the earliest, supposedly the earliest indigenous tribes to reside on this planet. And they talk about this concept that human beings, we are only 3 days deep. And that means that if we spend up to 3 days out in nature, that we will begin to sync with nature's rhythm, and that we will literally shed all the social, like, this conditioning, these programs, these limiting beliefs, and we will begin to sync with our natural rhythm, our natural essence, and begin to explore who we are at our core.
This is so good, because I feel like Mama Nature's been calling me. What would you tell our viewers, the people listening now? And guys, please comment where you're watching from. There's so many awesome people: Renato, Paola, Jonathan, Jane, Jenny, Lisa. Sorry, I'm like pressing buttons without noticing. And Jasmine. What would you say to our peeps that are watching live and those that are going to be watching on replay? When you're on replay, hashtag replay, let us know who you are, where you're coming in from. How can they, what are the steps that they can start taking to really attune? And I love that word, by the way. When I first heard it from you, I was like, wow, that's such a powerful word. How can people start attuning to who they really are?
It's a really big question, isn't it?
I know.
But it's one we have to start asking, right? And I think in the word attune, the reason that word came to me is because the verb means to come into harmony with. So the preface is that harmony is our natural state. So it's not, we're not entering into it. We're not creating a state of balance or harmony. We're just allowing for what is constant and what is our true nature to emerge. And it also, I think, you know, what I need to share as well is that it's also the idea that we don't need fixing, that there's this part of us that is whole, that is in harmony with this grander, complex design of nature. It's the same intelligence that runs through every living thing. And I guess there's some really simple.
I want to caps just what you just said, because it's so powerful, and I don't think people realize how personal development, excessive personal development, can become a trap. Mm-hmm. And you said something really powerful about there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to heal. It's about recalibrating to your true essence, which is already there, right? Which is why that word attune is so powerful, because you're tuning into who you really are. But sometimes we get into these traps where we think that down this rabbit hole of there's something wrong with me, oh, there I go with my there's my shit again coming up. We forget that can also become a habit. to continuously look for what's not working and to put ourselves in this hamster wheel of needing to fix ourselves, of needing to. And when you operate from that level of consciousness, you are always going to be met with more of that, just to continuously prove you right. So what can you say, because I feel like I want us to just presence that really powerfully. What can you say to people that are in that hamster wheel of fixing?
Mm-hmm. I guess the first thing I would say is taking a look at where in which everything is coming from. So what I mean from that is that, like, if the level in which we can be present and the level at which we can seek balance and harmony and openness and receptiveness to where we are right now in this moment in life, okay, versus the level of resistance to. So if you find yourself in, oh, I don't like my job, I don't like my house, everything in my life is not working, therefore there must be something wrong with me, therefore I need this course, I need this thing. Well, the first thing I would look at, okay, take a breath, because the breath is the most powerful, the most simple tool that we have to recalibrate and attune. And it just syncs our nervous system, because you see, like, I feel our nervous system is so wired and it's overstimulated by technology and just so much information, that just simply by slowing our breath and calming our nervous system and centering, we can begin to ask the question, what am I in resistance to right now? Because our reality is information that's being reflected back to us, that is teaching us what we are allowing, what we're open to, what we're receptive to, and what we're in resistance to. And so if you're feeling called to continually fix, my first thing would be breathe, and then ask, what am I in resistance to in this moment? For some, we're in resistance to our shadow, right? So there may be something in our environment right now that we think we need to fix, but really it's reflecting back to us an aspect of ourselves that we need to embrace, that we need to look at. And other people, we could be in resistance to our light, and really, like, looking into these aspects of our nature and not allowing ourselves to experience our own light in the moment, experience and pull through this innate knowing and wisdom that we have, and seeking externally, like that constant seeking outside of ourselves for something that we already have within, yet there's this deeper resistance there. So I don't know if I'm answering that question.
You are.
Asked, but it's what it feels like I needed to share that first, because it's for me, anytime I'm in resistance, or anytime I find myself, oh, I need to get out of this situation, or I need to create these goals to reach this thing, the first question is, okay, what am I in resistance to? How can I bring harmony to that? Because if we're in resistance to anything in life, we're not allowing the full spectrum of life to be experienced. And so I'm just going to share, I think metaphors, examples are probably good. And I always try and, actually, the only place I can share from is my own experience, because that's it. And that's story, right? So recently, I was in a lot of resistance to moving back to Ireland, and living away in Australia for over 8 years. And there was so much resistance to being here. And every time I would try to leave, something would happen, and you know how it goes, right? And until such a point, I had to look at, okay, what am I in resistance to here? And until such time I could look at, okay, what is here for me to look at? What is the deeper healing? What is the deeper wounds? What is the deeper familial patterns and childhood, the childhood wounds that we hold, that I needed to look at, that I needed to heal? What shadow aspects of myself are still showing up that get triggered in family scenarios? Because family quite often brings out the shadow, right? And so until such a point, I embraced being here. I opened up for an opportunity for me to now create my life from a centered place, right? Create my life from not being in resistance to my current situation, allowing the learning and the growth from what this experience is allowing for, which is in a way allowing the shadow to be present, not trying to fix it, being like, okay, I'm at home, there's stuff coming up, I'm not going to try and fix it, I'm just going to be with it, I'm going to feel it, I'm going to start to see the patterning here. Why do I keep getting triggered with my mom and dad? What's the underlying current here, right? And not trying to fix it, just be with it. And I guess it's just allowing us then to create from a place of allowing both the light and the shadow to be present, and setting our intentions from a place of owning our duality. Now, this is this is probably like a deeper concept, but sorry, the reason I pause is like I just got this like ringing in my ear. It's like so loud. Okay, so
they're here.
Is it okay if I go into this, because I just want to make sure that I answered that last question. But the idea of birthing out of our duality is what I've come to know. The more I spend time in nature, the more I have explored creation and how we create, is that we cannot create the full spectrum of opportunity, of possibility, until we create from a place of integrated duality. And that means that we are creating and being open to allowing all spectrums of emotions to be felt, all spectrums of experience. So if I'm calling in more abundance, then I need to be open and be conscious that it may also mean that I will also need to experience lack in the manifestation. So lack will mean there might be certain things that I need to let go of to allow for more space for abundance to flow through. I might need to so it's understanding that in everything that we're calling in, the level of openness that we have to allowing for both to be present, and the more we can stretch ourselves to allow for that, it allows for us to enter into a level of, and I'm just sharing from my own experience, a level of like a deeper intimate relationship with life, and seeing that everything in life is abundance, everything in life is growing, and it is expanding who we are. And it also allows us to experience the extremities of everything. Yet, and the reason I share this is, you know, I for a long time, you know, focused on, you know, seeking more abundance, more money, more success. And what happens is you can create that quite easily. A lot of mindset tools focus on that. But if you're still in resistance to all these other things, or if you're creating them to get away from not experiencing these deeper shadows, are we not experiencing only a limited spectrum of life? And when we reach that, we go, wow, there's actually so much more. And actually going into the shadows and embracing that too. And maybe this is just some questions we can ask before you set your intentions, is why are you creating, or why are you calling in to create the things that you're calling in? Where is it stemming from? Is it stemming from scarcity, fear, a deeper wound, a resistance? Or is it stemming from because we need to adhere to these ideas that have been perpetuated, even, you know, what it means to be a coach, a speaker, or if what it means to be someone who is successful. And this is, I guess, the blank slate. And, you know, I talked about this week. It's like, how can we put all that to one side and take a breath and spend time in nature and just lean back and tune in and go, how can I allow for the expression of life that wants to flow through me to be expressed in its purest form? How can I allow myself to dream bigger than any of these ideas, any of these concepts, any of these stories? And how can I create a new story that's even beyond what I believe is possible? And like in a container and in a space where there is no limitation, there is no stories, there's no limiting beliefs. You're simply just stepping into your archetype of being the creator with your paintbrush, with all the colors on your palette, and dreaming, enter into a dream that is outside what even many people may think is possible. And it's like this state of childlike curiosity that, you know, in a way, a child is not in resistance to anything in life. Yet, as we grow older, we create out of judgment, out of fear, out of resistance. And it's interesting. I don't know if you guys can hear it. So my nephew's, he's crying. Can you guys hear it? No. Yeah. And that was just some profound lessons recently I had with just even being with him. Is, you know, when we're born into the world, we're born in this childlike curiosity. We have no preconceived ideas, we've no judgments. We're experiencing life just through sound, just through vibration, and we're beginning to just feel and witness. And how can we allow for a moment for us to enter that state? And this is the thing, it can be so easy because as a child we're so tapped into our imagination, so tapped into our ability to dream, yet we've forgotten the power of dream. And dream, yeah.
I want us to touch on something that you said a little while back, and I should have stopped you earlier because it was really beautiful how you illustrated that our reality is all information. And the child, that innocence allows us to dream and really like we're just born as dreamers. I believe so. And it took me a while to understand that not everyone is a dreamer, because I just projected that to everyone. I thought everyone was a dreamer and everyone had big dreams, and people were like, no, I didn't never thought like that. So I believe just like you that every child has that innocence, that ability to tap in their dreams and just, you know, play and take everything as an adventure, and just be enamored and feel the pain, cry, and in a split second go right back to joy, right? But then as we start growing older, we create these stories of how the world has pained us, of how we start changing also according to our stories. So the world has pained us, our parents caused us some wounds, we experienced rejection in school during those early ages in some way, disappointment. And we started to create a story about ourselves, of how we needed to be and how we needed to adjust and relate with people in order to feel accepted, loved, and embraced, right? And a lot of people, including myself, I can relate to that, change who they are when they're still figuring out who they need to be for the world, right? So we lose a lot of our authenticity in that space. And for me, growing up in an abusive, violent situation, I had to change to be able to adjust to that as a child. Now, you said something really powerful about the 3D reality, our experience, the things that we're facing in our world are just a mirror, giving us information, giving us feedback of where our consciousness is, of where our thoughts have been, of where our choices have been, of where our energy has been. It is all a response to this vibrational matrix that we've created for ourselves. And a lot of people still don't see that. So I really want us to dive a little deeper in that. this 3D reality is always the outpicturing of our consciousness. How can we explain that to people, that everything you're experiencing, everything you are feeling, the relationships, the experience, the creation, this is all feedback for ourselves?
Mhm. Wow, yes, this is a really big one, and some people may be ready and may be open to exploring it, and then others maybe not. But I'm going to share what I feel it is, and also some questions I've been pondering recently, because I feel if we ever get attached to one idea or concept, we get limited and stuck. And I've just been starting to explore more for myself. But I feel, and I may speak in absolute, but take what you need and leave the rest. Everyone needs to discern their own truth.
Yes.
But I feel and know for me that my body is a very intuitive vessel, and that when we begin to sink back into our true innate capacity as a human being, we begin to understand that our emotions are actually an intelligence that can translate information in our environment. So the easiest way I could describe this, and there's many different books out there, and even science is bridging the gap now with spirituality, energetics, quantum physics. And even if we look at the concept of epigenetics, which is the study of how our environment and the stimulus in our environment triggers a response in our cells. So the cell and how that then sends an instruction into our genes or DNA, and how the cell needs to operate. Okay. And this has been revolutionary because it's been shifting how our idea around genetics, and that we are controlled or limited by our own genes through our ancestral line. And so where I'm getting with this is that if our cells operate in that way, what if our body is a collection of cells, collection of tissues and organs, and that our body in a way is one cell, or collection of cells that is responding continually to the stimulus in its environment. But let's look at the stimulus, right? Because there's all different stimulus. There's like what we see, what we feel. There's our senses, right? What we feel, what we taste, what we touch, what we smell. And so, but then there's beyond that. It's what the thoughts that we're thinking. It's the thoughts of the other people around us, right? It's also, so we're doing two things. We're absorbing, but we're also emitting. So we're emitters and receivers. And so our body is this intuitive vessel, or you could say instrument, that is constantly in communication with all of life. And in actual fact, this concept that we are separate to animals, plants, to the air we breathe, really is, in a way, it's something that we should begin to question and explore, because when we start to be open to this idea, right, what begins to happen is we can start to see and witness that the thoughts that we're thinking, the emotions that we're feeling, what we believe about ourselves, we start to attract in experiences that affirm that to be true. And so I think it becomes more apparent when people start to work on themselves and they start to do this deeper work, and when their beliefs start to shift and their mindset starts to change, and they change their environment and surround themselves with, new friends, new people, new mentors, or eating healthy food. What happens is what's they're emitting and what is coming back to them is shifting. But this is something that I'm in the inquiry of right now. So I don't have the answer, and I don't think any of us ever have the answer. But maybe we could be in the inquiry of it. There's this idea that we, in a way, as we awaken, there's so many of these concepts, you know, the law of attraction and these teachings. And while they may stem back hundreds of years or even thousands of years, and because they're in an ancient text that's written on a manuscript, we somehow give our power over to these concepts, and there's all these books written on it, and there's experts. And I just started pondering deeper and looking and feeling beyond, you know, what if there was more than just the law of attraction? And what if there was a field of reality that exists outside the scope of the idea of who we are is what we attract? And this is something that I'm in the inquiry of, because my personal direct experience is the more I strip back ideas and strip back conditioning and start listening to my body's response, even to these, you know, books, teachings, or my body's response to the food that I want to eat, my body's response to environments, and start spending more time in nature, you know, that 3 days deep.
Yeah.
There is something that happens where you enter this field where you are, I'm just going to say it, you become one with creation. So you are creation. You're not seeking to create. And it's probably veering a little bit off topic, but it's something that I'm exploring, because, you know, the whole personal development industry right now, and even, you know, for a lot of the time for myself, has been focused on what am I creating? But what if we attune to our true nature and remember that we are creation?
Yes.
And that when we sync with that really what our intention and focus could be on is, how can I sync with the aspect of me that is creation, that is in sync with every molecule, with every atom, every layer of reality. And a friend shared with me recently that the alchemists would refer to, you know, the alchemists were these powerful magicians that supposedly could work with the elements and alchemize matter and warp and move, you know, work with time and space, right? And they had this concept that it wasn't about trying to create, it was more about leaning. And it's this concept of leaning back and syncing with our true nature, leaning back on the elements. And this process of becoming lean as well, of letting go of all the beliefs and conditionings that we are separate from, and choosing to merge with nature itself.
I really, really love everything that you've said, and it's so powerful, even beyond the words, just to really sit in the essence of we are creation. And I say that to my clients too a lot, where it's like people are playing God in their bubble, and they're forgetting that they are the wave. They're not the ocean. The wave can never call itself the ocean, even though it is made of the exact same component of the ocean. We're simply extensions of the creation, the creator, the beloved, however you speak to this higher power at work through all of us. However, I think we get lost, and I've done it too, where the ego gets inflated and starts thinking up a storm about who it needs to be and what it needs to create, and we forget that there's something bigger at play that we're all connected to, which is why I love your word. Going back to the attune, it's we're tuning to the creation, to our natural essence. But a lot of us are playing half-played God in our bubble, and just in that mirror error of over-identifying with the labels and with the roles, we create this vibrational prison that is of our own doing. We did it to ourselves, and we forget that the surrender piece, the grace piece is so huge and can often at times proceed, like come before anything that you set out to do tangibly, or even in your words of your language of creation. We are vessels, and when we pretend to be the water, shit can get clogged up real quick.
Wow, I love those analogies. And I actually feel, I've been doing a lot of talking here, and this is a conversation, and it's really beautiful for me to receive your
Yeah.
words. And yeah, so that was really beautiful.
It's good. This won't be our last live. I know that for sure. We get to go down the cosmic rabbit hole a few times this year, God willing, if not more. I want to leave in this question for you, for our guest and the people watching on replay. We have so many amazing people. Carlos from Spain, Raquel from Spain, Lilith, Cyan, JD, Julia. So many amazing people have jumped on. What are some of your tips and secrets for creating an extraordinary year?
So I've just becoming more and more simplified with my practices. For me, this year it's about potency. It's about allowing myself each and every day to become one with the dream. And before I used to journal, and it's still really powerful practice. So if you journal, really writing out your I feel it's like we're merging with this aspect of ourself that is living out this expression. So it's not separate from, we're not in a way seeking to become it, we're already it. Yeah, and it's just writing out in the present moment. I am living, I'm standing on the beach, I'm breathing in the sea air. I've got my loved ones around me, I'm doing my soul's work in the world, and allowing yourself to really step into it. But most recently, I've been experimenting more with dream and dreaming with the five senses. So allowing myself to close my eyes each and every morning, and it's very much a visualization process, but allowing yourself to feel, using all your senses, what it feels like to be living that expression, to be living that life, to be at one with your true potential. And how does it feel? How does it sense? What can you smell? What can you hear? And becoming one with that, and holding the emotion of that and the frequency of that, allowing yourself to feel it as much as possible throughout your day. Now, this can be a challenge to begin with, but what I've learned is the more we can hold the frequency and the potency of that, the more we are allowing for us to sync with that aspect that is already there and allowing it to bleed through. Now, I know that's a different concept to this idea that we're pulling it in. And that's where I'm beginning to question the law of attraction, because I don't feel like I'm attracting anything outside of myself towards me. I feel it's opposite. I'm shifting. I'm allowing more to bleed through me. It's like my heart's opening. I'm allowing this aspect to be seen. And as a result of that, my environment responds. So
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like for me, I want to switch the LOA to the LOA from law of attraction to law of awakening, because it's all an inside job. It is all, you are not attracting anything. You're simply awakening it within you so that it manifests in your projection. So it's all an inside job. I love that you said that. Just want to like emphasize on that.
And just to preface, is like the embracing our duality again, like spend your moments allowing yourself to dream, but then taking action, taking that aligned action each and every day, even if it's a small baby step. And when we're having potency, again, it's simplicity and just potency in each expression, dream, play, dream, action, and allowing ourselves to express our masculine and our feminine. That has been, I know it's quite simple, but I sometimes feel like we can strip back all the practices, all the rituals, and every day that dream could look different. That could be a journaling practice, it could be walking on the beach, it could be closing your eyes for a moment, it could be a meditation. And again, that's syncing with your rhythm each and every day. It's not restraining yourself, or as humans, we've been conditioned to create rituals, and rituals can entrap us if we get too caught up in the dogma of it.
Yes. Oh my God, you're like hitting so many things for me right now. Because, you know, like, I just have to say this, guys. All right. I went to India because it's the mother of spirituality. I wanted to go to India. I went to India. I was doing mantras, yoga, like, you name it, girl. I was like the whole shebang. Ganesh mantra, Lakshmi mantra, like all of it. I get to India and I put myself on 44 days sabbatical in India alone. Okay. And I just went through all these, like, meeting all these gurus. I met the Shankarya. I never know how to say his name. Shankaracharya. Sayan, I know you're here, so he's from India, so he'll correct me. But he's like the main guru of India, right? He initiated me. I'm like watching, and this is when I started also having my spiritual awakening of just really getting in touch with my clairs and understanding this intricate relationship that I have with spirit. And girl, the dogma was like on crack everywhere, and it was so disappointing for me. And I'm also starting to do what you said about sitting in both opposites of like, well, maybe this is true for them. Maybe this is their way, right? Maybe this is their journey, and who am I to judge it? But I was so in judgment of the dogmatic practices, the pujas, of pouring milk on Shiva, pouring the food, and how detailed these pujas and intricate and such mass production. I mean, I was doing research on how much money they spend on these pujas, and yet there's so much poverty in that country. There's so many people living on the street. There's so many children that, like, if you go into the impoverished places, you'd be crying for days. How are we as a society doing this and calling it spiritual, right? So yeah, sorry, I just had to do my little rant in there, because spiritual dogma is real, guys. And if we don't really exercise the gift we have to question, things and use our own internal compass to discern, is this right? Does this feel right for me? Maybe mantras played a huge role in my awakening, but the moment they felt done, let it go. You are not dishonoring your culture, your guru. It no longer resonates. And in fact, the more we become, what's the word here? The more we become habitual with our rituals is when they become dogmatic, right? What I love what you said about really tapping into your senses, the five senses with your visualization. And as I'm hearing you say, you're really tapping into your feminine energy, spending those times closing your eyes and dreaming. And we've moved, I mean, we're going back now, the pendulum is shifting, right? But the pendulum was so shifted to the masculine that we forgot our ability to dream. We forgot our ability to fucking choose different and say, wait a minute, this mantra feels old right now. Let me shift it up. I'm not dishonoring anybody. There's no guru that it's going to penalize my entrance back into the kingdom, which is already within us, right? So what is it that is holding you prison to something that just feels like nothing anymore?
You just touched on some really key things here. And it's also, I had a conversation recently. It's coming out tomorrow, I think, but it's a podcast, and there's so many things that we touched on that came up in this conversation. And it's this idea of, and while I speak and may use spiritual terms, to talk about concepts that in a way I don't really have other language to describe.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, I maybe put in the box that I am very spiritual and esoteric and all of these things, but in a way, my understanding is I'm trying to create a container and a space in which we can have these expansive experiences, but to allow it to be present in our human body here and now. And there's this other program that's running that we can see quite transparently now, which is the pacification program of the, you know, the new age spirituality, and this idea that, you know, we can dream and we can do love and light and all of these things, but if we're perpetuating these rituals, are we not getting stuck and repeating cycles within one aspect of our nature, and even within that only expressing our limited light? Yet if we're not doing the shadow work and we're not stepping into action, because there's a lot of like really incredible voices now and souls out there that are here to implement these really big strategies and blueprints. Yet if we're going to be sitting here meditating all day and not integrating our masculine and taking action, so there's a few, like, as we awaken, it's like the discerning eye, and it's starting to, we explore these archetypes and aspects of our nature as we awaken, but our true nature is bringing it all back into this human experience. And one thing I just want to touch, and you did a post yesterday, and I was like, yes, because you spoke about, and this may be a triggering conversation for some, but the idea of
do it, trigger them, please.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned that, well, about 5D and about this idea that, you know, ascending into 5D, and this idea that there's this heightened state of awareness. And I think you said, if I hear another person say, I can't remember the wording, but something about creating through 5D. And I think we need to have this conversation, because, and I'm willing to say that this is my truth, so people don't need to agree. But I feel that we're born into this human experience. We're born into having this experience of spirit in matter that is dense and that allows for light to be witnessed and seen in the form of flesh and bone. And therefore,
we fought so hard to be here.
I know.
I have so much energy around it. But I also get to check myself, like, where is this energy coming from, right? I would love to do like a roundtable discussion with all these spiritual leaders where we discuss, where is this need to emphasize so much 5D, 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 5D. If you work with me, you're going to get 5D planning. If you work with me, you're going to permanently delete your fears. Bullshit. You cannot promise that to anybody. So what you're selling is lies. For me, in my experience, what you're selling is lies. And if you're calling it 5D to distinguish yourself or to make yourself sound cool, and maybe it is real for you. Maybe it is real for you. Maybe you are experiencing this higher enlightenment. However, I've studied and I've watched people that have been in this work for over 30 years, even longer. Shamans that have been chosen since birth. Gurus that have been chosen, again, sent to the Himalayan mountains as a child to go and really develop the skills of being a spiritual guru. They've never mentioned 5D. They've never talked about it. They have not once ever talked about 5D. And it brings up the question, which is something that I learned to question from your storytelling, Niamh, when you said, girl, and this we get to have another live on, because we can go on this rabbit hole for hours. You said about how even the chakras we get to question, and we get to really start discerning between artificial, synthesized transformation. And that landed on me like, oof, truth. Because it was in that moment that I started to also question the chakras. And I'm on a mission to visit the chakras of the earth before I'm 40, right? And it just made me question, where did it come from? How did we learn it? Who came up with it? And if it was a person that came up with it, then even their perspective is limited in truth. So what are we doing here, subscribing to things without really questioning it and being with it? And yes, I've done amazing work with my clients in chakra meditations and clearing meditations. However, there's always a level deeper, right? So that was really powerful for me. But again, we can spend hours on these topics. I really want to thank you, Niamh, for blessing us with your grace, with your wisdom. There's no accidents. I started with my 2 Ireland queens, and you guys picked the dates. I didn't even have anything to do with setting the times, but I thought it was so beautifully synchronized how it started with Anne-Marie talking about radical responsibility. And then we moved through the conversation on who are you and how can you attune to your true nature. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with? And please, at the end, share how can they get in touch with you? Where can they reach you? And we also put out in an email a goodie, a freebie that she has made available to everyone that subscribes. So if you haven't subscribed, creatingyour2019.com so you can get her freebie. But how can they get in touch with you, and any last words that you want to leave us with?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's just, yeah, we could spend so long on here talking about so many things. I guess the easiest way for people to get in touch with me is through my website at tuneme.org, and or through Facebook here. Feel free to add me as a friend. But I just wanted to, if I was to share anything, like I know we touched so many things, anything is that when we sync with our true nature and we return to who we really are as human beings and our ability and our power to create, like as women, we create life, literally. But as human beings, we create life, we create, and if we can tap into our true innate essence, which is play, which is curiosity, just wipe the slate clean. Everything that you thought you were creating for this year, just for this just for this week, put it to one side, right? And allow yourself to think bigger. And I think Matt Kahn said recently in a video, he said, this is a year we get to stretch ourselves and create a vision that is so big, and our journey will be in allowing ourselves to expand to meet that vision, right? So and that vision can be in all directions. So let yourself paint a picture for your health, your wellness, for relationships, for everything, and
let go of the circumstances. Let go of the, I don't make enough money. Oh, when am I going to travel? Let go of all of that. Wipe the slate clean and really dream from your heart, because there's no limit there. Sorry, I just wanted to interject with that, but keep going.
Yeah, no, that was like, there's so many things I could say, and I know there's some incredible speakers that are going to touch on all these other areas over the next couple of days. And create from your center, and your center again is integrating, not being in resistance to anything, embracing all of who you are, your warts and all, the shadows and the light, everything, and say, I'm calling in this big vision, and I'm willing, like Anne-Marie probably mentioned, going to take responsibility for what comes up on the way, because we will be stretched. Our resistances will come up. It's not going to be all love and light and unicorns and rainbows, because in order there to be our light to expand, it needs to expand into the shadows too, and to switch the light on in a room that's been dark for so long, and anything is out of resonance of you syncing with your true state will come up. And it's being okay and embracing and saying, I'm a heck yes, but I'm a heck yes to all of it, whatever that looks like. So
love it, love it, love it, love it. Please follow this majestic queen at attuneme.org. Friend request her. You heard her. She will accept you. And make sure you get to know her better. And she does amazing online work. You don't have to go in person, but she also does amazing in-person retreats that are soul activating. So definitely get to know this queen. Niamh, thank you so much for, again, being with us. I'm excited for this conversation that we're diving into. These are my favorite types of conversations. If people that know me know that I cannot do surface talk for the hell of me. But these are the conversations that really light me up. So to be able to do this is a gift to me. And I know that the people watching, this is a gift for you all. So again, if you have not registered, register creatingyour2019.com. You will receive daily gifts from all the speakers. You will receive my gift, which is a success blueprint to own 2019 like a boss. It is absolutely free, and you'll have all the videos for a lifetime to replay whenever you want. This is the year to really step into our bigness, to really step into the bigness of our soul. Our soul is infinite potential, swirling in motion, and it is up to us to seize the magic. Thank you, Mama. I honor you. I honor you guys.
On my page, follow this chick. Like, honestly, she is gonna change your life. Like, honestly, you're doing some incredible work in the world, and I see you.
Thanks, babe. I see you too. All right, guys, have a beautiful Tuesday, and let's take some actions on our dreams today. Bye, guys.